Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thanks so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. If you got a question and or a comment, I want to direct you to the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Once you do get to the website, check out all the information there. We've been doing quite a bit of work on the website, including a lot of resources and a lot of articles and blogs and podcasts and all those kinds of things. So go check it out. And when you're there, you can sign up for the email list. Do that as well. And we'll keep you posted on what you need to know. Make it easy to get the information directly sent to you. That's all at the website, prudentmoney.com. Hey, I want to let you know something, and this only affects the people that are driving in their cars right now. But we are moving the program from 3 to 3:30, which we do today and have done for many, many, many years. And we're moving it to 4:30 to 5. And we're going to be doing that a week from today, as a matter of fact. And moving a little bit closer to the end of the workday. In fact, when I started doing radio back in 2002, I started at another radio station that's no longer there in the Metroplex. We started at 5 to 5:30, so it's something I've always wanted to get back to closer to the end of the day, and that's what we're doing. God is just what a real blessing that He has allowed all that to happen. So, how can you get Prudent Money information? You can go to prudentmoney.com. We call it Prudent Money on the Go. And you'll see the social media, the podcast, the blogs. And we're going to be starting doing some posting and doing it in very small bites so you can get the information, but to not take you a long time to do it. But while you're there, sign up for the Prudent Money email list. And we can definitely keep you posted because we send one out. We're going to start doing it this way. Start sending one out a week every Friday, and you'll kind of get a synopsis of everything that we've done, summary, everything that we've done during the week, and see what speaks to you, see where you want to invest your time in learning about what God would have you do from a stewardship standpoint. So that's all at the website, www.com. Also, I want to make sure that you know, we haven't talked about this in a while, but there is a risk survey on the site, and we've revamped that, and so you can go in and you can take the risk survey and see what your risk level is for money. It's something that we're going to be talking about today, so I want to make sure that you know about. But that's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Chris Patton has worked my show for, I don't even know how long. It's been so long. Seems like it's been a long time. But he's been a great blessing to me. And if you get a chance, wish him a happy birthday, because he is truly getting to old man status, turning the big 50. I barely even remember that in my own life, 550. But Chris, just know that you're appreciated, and couldn't do any of this without you. So I really appreciate it, and enjoy 50. It's not so bad. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I want to talk a little bit about what's happening with the markets. I've been keeping you up on interest rates because I think that is the single most important number that you can follow. Are interest rates going up or interest rates going down? As you know, and as we've discussed, the interest rates, President Bush. I watched the Katrina documentary, and President Bush is on there. Okay, President Trump, there we go, would love to see Fed Chair Jerome Powell lower interest rates aggressively. He's resisted that, which I think makes sense. But needless to say, he lowered interest rates last week a little bit, and one of the things we talked about before that happened is watch what interest rates in the bond markets. I know that may not make sense, but watch what they are doing. I'm not so concerned about knowing how the watch is built, but what the watch says, what time it is, and what it's saying is interest rates are going up. That's not good for mortgages, not good for consumer lending, and not what we want to see. But since the Fed's meeting, I believe, was on Wednesday, interest rates have continued to go up. They went up today. So this is not necessarily settling into the stock market quite yet, and I can't tell you why. But I do think it's important to be aware of that as you make decisions. I had someone ask the question, what do I think about getting aggressive in the market today? I think I would be, and I know I say this, it sounds like a broken record, but I do think that we're getting closer and closer to the day that being cautious might just really pay off in the long run. And kind of careful what you ask for, because the more aggressive, the more days this market continues to go up, go forward without any kind of a meaningful correction or decline, the bigger the risk gets. So you just need to know that. Everything runs in a cycle, and this is one giant cycle that we're in right now. So just want you to be careful and make sure that really the answer to the question is, if you want to be more aggressive, is if you're not just rolling the dice in Vegas, not that kind of aggressive, but if you have a well-planned process and plan on how you're going to go about doing it, that's what the most important thing that you can do. And that's what you just got to be very, very careful. I think the road's going to get pretty bumpy here pretty soon. But once again, keep an eye on interest rates up again today, and this is what we have to keep an eye on. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about money. And that's what we talk about on the Prudent Stewardship. Most importantly, the connection between God, money, and ourselves, and how all that works, and trying to live a Matthew 6:24 life. It's one of the things the most important things you can shoot for. What do you? And this is the. There's all kinds of information that's published, a lot of content that's as good as telling you what to do, but how about telling the 5 best things that you can do when it comes to money? And I know that there's a lot of people that have gone down this road with setting financial goals and going through the process and have failed miserably. But I got to tell you, it's not too late to turn. You may have a big hole in the boat, but it's not too late to turn the boat back around and get to shore. So what we're going to talk about today is the 5 best things that you can do, and we're coming up against a break here. So pretty soon I'm going to go ahead and get this started. The very first one is you have to know your goals, and for most people, knowing your goals simply is someone comes up to you and they say, "Hey, Bob, why are you saving money?" And I reply, "Well, I'm saving money for retirement." And they go, "No, specifically, what are you saving money for?" And this is where I think people get into trouble, is that they take and they use global answers to describe what they're really wanting to do. And they do that because they don't have the details of how that's going to work. And you really have to know the steps to take to achieve your goals, especially when you're doing goal planning. In fact, it's probably one of the more difficult aspects of the whole process, because a lot of people get hesitant when setting goals. I mean, it's easier to set them when you're way far away from them than when you have to get real about it, because you're now in crunch time. And if you don't get these goals set, and the process fails you, the stakes are higher the closer that you get to really needing those goals to work out. So if someone were to ask you, why are you saving money? And you say, well, for retirement, but specifically, let me tell you what I'm saving money for. I'm saving money for a cash flow to be paid out to me for the rest of my life, that in today's dollars is, let's say $5,000, whatever it is, dollars a month. I am saving money because I want to have my house, which has $200,000 left on it, paid off by the time I'm retiring. And I'm saving money because I want to make sure that I have $50,000 sitting in cash, and that I'm also preserving a very moderate risk level. And the ability to say, I left one important part out. I'm saving X amount of dollars a month to drive the engine of growth. And knowing your risk levels and knowing all these factors that go into it versus, I think I'll load up on the aggressive growth fund, may not be the best of ideas. Hey, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Stick around. We'll be right back. This is Bob Brooks, host of the Prudent Money Radio Show. Well, I have some exciting news for you, and I wanted to keep you in the loop so that you didn't miss anything. Starting the 29th of September, we are moving from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 4:30 to 5 in the afternoon. You can still listen on the radio at 91.3 FM or online at www.kdkr.org. You can also go to whatever podcasting platform you prefer and just search Prudent Money. Most importantly, go to the website and sign up for the newsletter list, and we'll keep you posted there as well. We are serious about spreading the message of prudent stewardship and feel that this puts us in a position to do so. You can also go to prudentmoney.com for any updates. As always, thank you for supporting Prudent Money. Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thanks so much for joining me today. I do appreciate it. Hey, make sure that you go to the website, www.prudentmoney.com, and sign up for the e-letter list, and we'll keep you posted on what's happening, what I think that you need to know, and whatever we can do to help you stay on that track to prudent stewardship, which would mean if you've got a question, go to the website and go to the top of the page. You'll see the link. Ask away. I love to get those questions. Love to find out what's going on. A couple things about setting goals. The first one is that if you have some fear, a little bit of fear, getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of the box is good for you. And in fact, I would say that's a lot of the Christian life, is walking a different walk. But in this situation, you might double check to make sure that your goals are realistic. And there's absolutely a level of fear because you're making a big change, a big commitment, but make sure that that it's achievable as well. And the other thing too is that when setting goals, you always want to make sure that is the future pot of money that I have to grow my money to, is it in today's dollars or is it in future dollars? And you've heard me talk about this many times, is that the article after article talking about the goal should be to get $1 million. Well, $1 million in 4 or 5 years down the road, or 10 or 15, 20 years down the, actually, if you're going long term, 15, 20, 25 years down the road, is a lot different than $1 million, has a lot less spending power in the future than it does today. And they don't ever tell you that, which I don't quite understand. The second most important thing that you can do with money is know your risk level. Now, you know we talk about that all the time, because if you know your risk level, you're okay with what's happening if the volatility starts to ramp up again. And when I'm talking about volatility, I'm talking about those months and even year, but yeah, you could be looking at years where the market goes all over the place. It can be stressful, and even a person with a well-defined plan could express some stress, no question. But in this particular situation, if you know your risk level and you're satisfied with your risk level, and it's more than just sitting down with a financial advisor, and I hear these stories all the time, sitting down with a financial advisor and saying, really want to do something about my risk level. I want to make sure that my investments are congruent with what my risk level is, but I'm not really sure that I know. What do you think your risk level is between 1 and 10, says the advisor? And you say, well, I think it's a 6. And great, 6. So we'll focus on a risk level of 6. Well, you may have a totally different concept of what a 6 risk level means versus what the advisor says that it means. So that is one of the most important things that you can get right. And I believe, and this is why I believe AI is not going to take over the human element of the financial advisor business. I think that they will take over a lot of other things. But to me, determining somebody's risk level, there's an art to it. It's a very individual thing. It's not being thrown into a bucket and you're in the bucket with all the rest of the other people who want to take moderate risk. It's a very, very important, suitable exactly for you type risk level. So you got to know exactly what that is, and understand that if you've chosen this risk level, you got to accept this kind of volatility that could happen in the market, and make sure that you have some of the good elements of a thoroughly put together plan. The first one is, and I'm a big believer in this, is that you got to have a plan A and you got a plan B. Everybody's got a plan A when the market goes up, but what's the plan B if the market goes down? How will you be invested? How will things they look in a situation where you really need to be in a plan B versus a plan A? So that's one of the most important things. The second concept you need to be familiar with is one you're probably going to go, yeah, I understand how that works. But let me put it into a different example, and that's diversification. You got to be very diversified in that plan B to make sure that it does actually work for you. And I had this story always comes to mind. The client that came to see me and says, I just want you to know, Bob, I got my 401k completely diversified, but I want you to take a look at it. So I took a look at it, and he had about 20, 25 different funds available to him. He had 10 that he was using. And I said, you're diversified because you have a lot of funds, but you just kill that diversification because all those funds do the same thing. And I remember back in 1999 when the market was about to enter into the big tech bust. And there was actually a difference in in a return between growth stocks and value stocks. And you could have actually been invested in value stocks and actually done okay. So, and just using a mutual fund as an example, there were hundreds of mutual funds who did very well during the tech bust. It was pretty unusual. And I often wonder if that set people up for, well, if they were good then they'll be good again, so I can just hang on. And they went through the financial crisis, which was a very, very big decline. But this, when I talk about a plan B, I'm talking about diversification, and I'm talking about being diversified, spreading your money out over different types of investments, not just over one type of investment. So if you have 10 stock funds and you put your money over 10 stock funds, you're not going to have any diversification at all because you're all going the same direction the stocks are going. So I hope that makes sense. Very important to understand and to know. Number 3, how much are you committed to save, and what is your number that is going to get you there? This is a very important question, because you've got to know how much you're going to save. If let's say that you've determined you have to make 6% to get your goal, and you feel like that you can spread your money accordingly over a good diversified plan with a plan A and a plan B, and understand how to get there. So what are you going to fund that with? The best way to figure that out is to run the numbers and get with somebody who understands risk levels, good financial advisor, and figure out what do I have to save on a monthly basis, including inflation, to get to a position to where I can accumulate what I need to accumulate and be ready for retirement. And extremely, extremely important to make sure that you run those numbers. It's not just about, well, if I say, and the problem is with this example is that this really happens in real life. I mean, I see these articles and I see these plans from companies with 401k plans, and they just say, hey, you'll be able to do X, Y, and Z if you just save 15% of your income. Well, maybe not, but I would, we can't guarantee that we're going to get exactly where we need to go, but we can guarantee to the point that we know we've done everything we can do to project what that number has to be. And just because it says 15% of your income doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be at the point where you need it to be. Very, very important that you understand that. And then there's the whole idea of coming up with that number, and you got to realize that there's other things that are in competition for that number. And so it may come down to you got to choose what that number is going to be, and you have to decide whether maybe you don't want to retire when you're 60, because if you retire when you're 60, you'll have to cut back on saving for college education funding, and it's really a tough scenario to go through as far as trying to figure out what do I value the most. And we're getting towards the end of the program, so we're not going to make it through this list. There's my music. But we'll talk more about this tomorrow and discuss in greater detail how values are really very, very important. If you have a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time. Keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.